Welcome to the Swedish Junior Hockey Podcast. Your host, Jacob Dahlin. Today we have William Henriksson from today in Norway, but I know you're sitting in Gothenburg. Welcome to the today's episode of Swedish Junior Hockey.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so we talked a little bit offline. I was trying to get my monitors fixed up, so I'm having to do a little improvising here since I'm only got one monitor, but thought we'd start anyway about your back. Of course, how do I find you? I'm doing a project here about Swedish players that play juniors in the US, and we talked a little bit offline, and some of the info is not necessarily correct about you playing in A3, but we're going to talk about really your background, how you ended up in the US, and then a little bit about advisors, agents, and also kind of Hockeyettan, the third division in Sweden, and now you're playing in Norway. What division are you playing there?
Norway 2 is it called? It's the second highest tier.
So, and great opportunity to see different places, play at a good. I'd like to hear a little bit about Norwegian, the level of hockey. There's when you talk to when you look at Swedish juniors, there's a lot of Norwegians that are talent. There are U16s who are coming over playing hockey gymnasiums in Sweden. So, but let's start. I know, where did you get your start? Kungälv, Gothenburg, right?
Yeah, exactly. I grew up 15 minutes from Kungälv and started my career there. I think I was 2 years old when I first stepped on the ice, and it was natural. It was Kungälv to start with. My father played there when he was younger, so it was just natural coming to play for Kungälv.
And for those who don't know, I mean, we have a geographical component of this because Sweden is, not everybody knows Sweden. So if you look up Gothenburg, for those who don't know, where is Gothenburg?
Gothenburg, West Coast. Kungälv, West Gothenburg.
Yeah, second largest city in Sweden. Beautiful place. Kungälv. How would you describe Kungälv, or did you live there in Kungälv?
No, I lived 15 minutes north of Kungälv. But yeah, Kungälv, I'd say, is a small city outside Gothenburg. Not particularly that big, but it has its shopping malls and its shops and hockey team, football team. So pretty small town.
Yeah. So what soccer team did you grow up being a fan of?
Of IFK Göteborg, of course. Big fan. Going to the game tomorrow now that I'm home over the weekend. So always been a big fan of IFK and always will be.
Well, I'm gonna reveal my age here, but Torbjörn Nilsson was probably one of my favorite guys growing up. I was not born with Zlatan as a favorite player. It was Torbjörn Nilsson, and when he finished his career, he became a chef. So I don't think it's a little different. Torbjörn Nilsson became a chef. Zlatan Ibrahimovic has plenty of chefs.
Yeah,
for him. A little different.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, I think I've actually been down there. I've been to Ullevi in Gothenburg, and amazing city, lots of concerts, coastal town. So, did you grow up close to the water?
Yeah, I grew up right beside the water. Where I'm from, we took our bikes down 2 or 3 minutes to the beach there or to the water, and we had a boat there as well. So we had a great time where I grew up.
Not a lot of beach near Gothenburg, right? But where did you go to get to the beach? Halmstad, or where's the nearest beach?
As I said, we used a lot of boats, so you go out just to those islands, and you don't really use the beach that much. But I'd probably say Tylösand, Halmstad is the closest beach to go to.
Yeah. Lots of if you want to go swimming outside the ocean, there's plenty of lakes in Sweden to go to as well. So, all right. So grew up in Kungälv, but then so if we you know, one of the central themes that we've talked about in the Swedish system is the ability, you know, you are just to give you a little, everybody, you're an 02, so you're 21 years old, you finish your juniors, defenseman, 5'10", 174 in elite prospects. Is that about still right?
Yeah, I think that's about right.
Yeah. And you know, you never know. Some people have spent a lot of time on elite prospects. Some people never update it, and it's not always right, but it's pretty good. One of the things about the advantage in Sweden is the ability to play on multiple levels as a youth or as a junior. And
yeah.
same thing for you. You played. So Hovås, where is that?
Who was it?
So 16, 17 year. So you were probably, was that your first year U16?
Yeah, exactly. I played in Kungälv from like, yeah, as I said, that's when I was like 2 years old up until I think I was 14, and then you know, I had a great time in Kungälv. Then that opportunity came. Me and my best friend from Kungälv moved there. It was like north part of Gothenburg almost.
Okay.
Yeah, we had a lot of friends there, and they made a pretty big. How do I describe it? They wanted to like take the next step with their
Yeah.
team, so they asked us to come and play, and we said yes.
And were you still in not 8th, 9th grade then?
Yeah, probably 8th grade, I think. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right. But because it's all close by, it's just another club. You're not moving, you're still staying at home, right?
Yeah.
And then so then you played U16 and J20 Division 1 or what game in J20?
Yeah, that's the awesome part of being in Sweden. You can play with multiple age groups, and yeah, as I said when I played earlier with Kungälv all my life, you know, been up and down with the different age groups, playing with everything from the 02s to the 01s and the 99 group. So yeah, that's awesome, just being able to play with different age groups.
And then you ended up in Mölndal, which is another south of Gothenburg.
Yeah.
Very familiar with that organization. My son lived in Baltorp.
Yeah.
He played there. Nice, good history there as well. But just another, what's nice is a bigger city. You got, what all clubs do you have there? You have Bäcken, Mölndal.
Or yeah.
I forgot about Frölunda. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different teams around the Gothenburg area. So yeah.
Yeah. And but I'm a little bit curious here too. You played in the TV Puck tournament.
Yep.
Was that for Gothenburg or yeah. For Gothenburg. But then you didn't play, you know, J18 or U16 Elite, and so you must have been. Were you kind of one of these kids that were right on the line?
How do you mean?
Like you know, a lot of people that played in the TV Puck, you know, they went into, you know, they didn't go to a U16 Division 1 or Division 2 team, but they went to the top club in the region and played in a bigger area. Not necessarily, and I want to talk about kind of a point there about that. That's not necessarily always the best.
No, that year the plan was to go to Frölunda. Yeah, you know, every year probably. Yeah, just the exception for the 02 group, like Frölunda picks their U16 team, and just everyone who plays in the U16 team, yeah, goes to play the TV-pucken.
Yep.
But this year they had some special thing that they didn't want to bring anyone in. I think they just brought 3 guys in or something. So they didn't want to fish out every player in the region. So yeah, the plan was originally to go to Frölunda and play the U16 level there, but as they didn't did any intakes, I went to Mölndal instead and got to play at the J18 level
Yes.
with 1 and 2 years older. And that was actually, I think that was pretty nice for me because I got to play at the J18 level 1 year earlier. So yeah, I think that was just a good experience.
Yeah, and I think that that's kind of and the same thing. Then you ended up, and I guess that was the 18-19 year you played in Vita Hästen. Were you still a U16 then?
No, no, that was the hockey gymnasium. The plan was going to Karlskrona. I signed with Karlskrona during the Tidepucken there, and the plan was originally going to Karlskrona, but then they went out and got relegated from the SHL that year, and same thing with the JA team Elite. I think they also got relegated in some way. So yeah, I had already signed with them, and then the contract just got ripped. So
Yeah.
then Vita Hästen called and asked if I wanted to come and play with them. So yeah.
Yeah, and Vita Hästen is further down south in
Oh
no,
no, that's
wait, no, it's
up
Norrköping. Norrköping,
north.
right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think that and that's the part that there's so many different places to go, and you may have plan A, but okay, for whatever reason it doesn't happen, and then you end up over here, which
Yeah.
is different but still good, enables you to play at different levels. And but then what happened the following year? So then your second year in hockey gymnasium, you end up going to Karlskrona.
Yeah, they went up the system again. So then they called and asked if I was still interested coming and playing, which I were, because originally I wanted to go there. They had a great program, great
Yep.
facilities, a senior team that was in a good level, and yeah, of course they had the J20 Super Elite or
Yep.
national now. And that was a big factor for me wanting to come there from the start.
Yeah.
And then when they called,
Yeah, Karlskrona is an interesting place. I'm a huge fan of Karlskrona for a lot of reasons, but they've had their share of problems, and
yeah,
it's so tough because they got amazing facilities. They're in a really nice part of Sweden, in a medium-sized city. It's not tiny, it's not huge. And Karlskrona, I mean, hockey is still a big thing over there.
the
But
hockey's
they've
everywhere.
but they've had, because of the problems with the economy,
Yeah,
and the SHL, they were in SHL, got relegated. Are they in Hockeyettan now or Allsvenskan?
they were in Allsvenskan. Then they got relegated due to economics,
Yep.
which sketchy. I don't know. In some way they got relegated and ended up Hockeyettan.
Yeah. So I think that, and all of that creates this turbulence in a ripple effect in all levels. And an important part to talk about in juniors in Sweden, not a lot of people know this, but if you have an SHL team for your elite, for your adult men's team, that gives the U20 or J20 an automatic spot in J20 National, what used to be J20 Super Elite. So
Okay.
these clubs, so when you have these teams like Färjestad, HV71, Leksand, Frölunda, Örebro, been in the J20 National for a long time, and have such an established program that even though they didn't have a automatic bid, they're at the top of J20 National anyway.
Yeah.
But teams like, if you look at teams like Oskarshamn, Karlskrona, that Oskarshamn's a good example. They have an automatic bid because they're in the SHL, but they've really struggled at J20.
Yeah.
And if you look at J18, I think Oskarshamn is not in J20 region. I may be wrong, but I think that they've struggled with the juniors to kind of get that going, but they haven't. But because they have an automatic bid, it's tough to compete. They don't have the history like that.
Yeah.
And Karlskrona is kind of in a similar way. So when they lost they got relegated there, it makes things really difficult to then compete with the big clubs.
Yeah, exactly. And that was like, I think, one of the only times it's happened when Karlskrona went down to Hockeyettan. They had a J20 Super League team and a team in Hockeyettan. That's like almost the same level.
Yep.
So that made it really difficult, like keeping it on a nice level, because you want the players from your J20 team to be able to process up to the higher level. And yeah, it just made an unbalanced thing in the club, I think, having the J20 Super League and Hockeyettan at the same time.
But at the same time, though, it's really, really tough for clubs that take Rögle or Frölunda, or we have to talk about Leksand because I'm from there. But you know, it's really, really difficult for J20 players to break it into the elite club.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and when you're looking at teams like Djurgården, AIK, Södertälje, now Västerås and Brynäs, perhaps. Brynäs just got relegated, but they still have a solid program at J20. So if you're a J20 player in Brynäs, all of a sudden now you're going to have an easier time to get games in Hockeyallsvenskan.
Yeah, I think that's like a big thing, I think, for people choosing the hockey gymnasium. I think you should not only go to the place that has the best SHL team necessarily. I think maybe sometimes there's a better opportunity for you to get to play at the senior level if your team's maybe in Allsvenskan and lower tier of the Allsvenskan. So yeah.
So, but if we go back then, so how was your time? So you ended up playing. Did you finish up? So you're all the way through. So you did all your years in gymnasium +1, right?
Yeah, I did my first year in Vitesse, and then 3 years in Karlskrona.
Yeah. How was it then in Karlskrona and hockey gymnasium? What did you study?
I studied economics.
Okay, so you didn't go the easy route.
No, I didn't. But I'd say it was pretty easy. Still, I had a really good time at Karlskrona. Actually, I got so much help from teachers and everyone who worked around the club, with all from school combined with hockey. So it was just a really good time, school wise and hockey wise.
Yeah. Talk about that a little bit too, because not everybody choose to go into naturvetenskap or the social the science part or economics or kind of college prep route, right?
Yeah.
So out of the guys that went to hockey gymnasium, how many people went the vocational route? Estimate.
I think in my class, it was me and two other guys who studied economics, and then maybe one guy in science. The rest did, like, the building structure thing. Working with the kids and hospitality things. So most of the guys, took the easy way out. But
yeah, I mean, isn't it kind of? I mean, nothing wrong with that, but it's kind of. And I remember back in when I was at that age, that's what I chose. I went actually in plumbing. You know, that was I did that for a year, and then I realized, what am I doing? And then I quit and went back for on the science. Went to Technis.
Yeah.
But the reason I bring this up, because when you are 16 years old, it's really, really difficult to know. You've gone through ninth grade and you're kind of tired of school, and you just want to play hockey. So you want to have a little bit of an easier way. So it's easy to, and all your buddies are like, no, let's have a good time. But the reason I bring that up is that's the time that is so crucial. If you are thinking about college hockey in the US, which we'll get to in our conversation, but if you're thinking about going playing college hockey, if you had chosen not economics, but you chosen construction, that would have closed some doors.
Yeah, exactly. At the time I didn't have college in mind when choosing, but I think I've always had like a pretty easy way for myself in the school. I've done what I needed to do and got out with some good grades, and yeah, studying economics wasn't like that hard for me, but at the same time, I understand like a lot of people who's very talented in hockey wants to just play hockey and just do the school thing as easy as possible, and I I totally respect that. But
Yep.
it's from like a college perspective, you need to have a certain grades and certain study a certain types of things. So I think if you want to go to college, you probably should choose like, yeah, economics or something.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm glad you're bringing that up, because I think hopefully, you know, what's nice about these podcasts is that they're going to be out there, and even if someone doesn't listen to it today or a week from today, 6 months from some time, I may say you need to listen to the episode with William Henriksson, because he talked about making that choice, not knowing if he was going to go to college or not, but it wasn't that bad, right?
No,
And it's easy to do, to choose the easy route, and or it's easy to do and easy not to do. You know, just put that little extra effort into academics, and it keeps doors open versus close them in the future.
exactly.
So, all right. So you finished up. So now you're finished up your J20, and so did you have, before we get to like, so after you finished gymnasium, your third year of juniors, you had the choice now, do I stay in Karlskrona
Yep.
and play my last year of J20 eligibility, or do I go somewhere else? Did you
Yep.
look at um did you look at other clubs? Did you look at coming to North America at that time?
Not North America necessarily at that time. I was pretty focused staying at Karlskrona another year because COVID happened the year before and we didn't get to play that many games. So I wanted to have the full J20 experience before doing anything else. So no, not that I had some clubs interested, but nothing that interested me in that way. I wanted to stay in Karlskrona. I really enjoyed my time there, and so no, not at that time.
And at what point did you, because you know you do have a agent, or at that time an advisor. When did you start that relationship?
I think it was during that year, during starting my second J20 year. I got in touch with him, and we've been working together ever since.
Yeah. All right. So you decide to go back and stay for another year. And at what point did you start thinking about, because you eventually you ended up in Minnesota,
Yeah.
St. Cloud, and that's the part one I want to get to next. But so talk about how you ended up there.
As we talked about off cam before, it was not necessarily planned or anything. My goal after that season was to play good in J20 and then go to Hockeyettan and play pro hockey here in Sweden. But while looking at those clubs back home here, we got an interesting opportunity to go and play in the NAL and play in North America. So
How did that come about? Was that because, so talk about choosing, how did you choose your agent? How did you get introduced to John? And talk about that part.
I don't really. Yeah, my teammate had him as an agent as well, and I just talked to him, and briefly after morning practice, I remember we just sat down in a locker room, and I talked. Yeah, who's your agent? And he introduced me to Joel, my
You
agent.
will,
And
sorry, not John. You will.
oh no, no, you're good. And I just contacted him, talked to him, and wondered just how does he work and what's his goals with his clients. And it sounded really good, and I just enjoyed what he had to say. And from there, we just started building our relationship, and we went from there.
Was that because your goal of playing in Hockeyettan? So then you're like, I need someone to help me, guide me into finding a team that is going to negotiate on my behalf.
Yeah, exactly. My from the start, when from like playing in the TV-pucken, you know, I didn't really need an agent because the teams were contacting me and I just got everything done pretty quickly by myself. But then when you start getting a bit older and those professional teams come in, I think it's pretty nice to have someone talk for you and negotiate for you. And the goal was, as you said, playing in Hockeyettan. But then while we were looking for the teams, this opportunity came up because one of my teammates in Karlskrona at that time was tendered to play for the St. Cloud Norsemen.
Who was that?
Alex Korpela.
Okay.
Now in Linden Hockey, I think, in Hockeyettan. Yep. But we have the same agent. So he got tendered through him. And when that opportunity came for him, he just asked if I were interested, and I said yes. And that was like after the draft has happened in the Null. So he sent a bunch of video clips on me to the coaches in the Norsemen, and I think they enjoyed what they saw and liked what they saw. So they invited me to come to training camp.
So that was going to be my next question: is did you go to main camp or did you go straight to training camp?
No, I went straight to training camp. So yeah.
And same thing for Alex. He skipped. So he was tendered. So he was tendered. So let me ask you this too. So when he got tendered, you know, most of the guys that I've talked to that's played in the Null, when you asked them the question, well, so how did you were an expert on all this ahead of time, right? And they were like, no, I had no idea what this tender and draft means. And then, you know, you just go with the flow, right? So was it the same thing? So Alex come to you and says, I don't know what this means. I got tendered, but I guess I belong to them now.
Yeah. That was like what we talked about, because while I was invited to training camp and he was tendered, we didn't really know the difference. And then when we went to training camp, we thought like, oh yeah, we've made a team, we think. But and then guys just started not showing up the day after. We were like, where did that go? Oh no, he got cut. We were like, what? You can get cut from the team? Should they want to fly us all the way over across the sea and then just cut us? So no, we had no idea. We've learned along the way everything that comes with the thing.
Yeah. So let's start with that. So you end up going to training camp.
Exactly.
And so St. Cloud Norsemen in St. Cloud, Minnesota, hockey mecca in the U.S.
Yeah, exactly.
St. Cloud State is there, big D1 program. Minnesota high school hockey is huge.
Yeah,
there. You should take a look at all hair team in Minnesota high school hockey. So you end up going over there. So did you have a billet family already set up?
They set up a billet family. So me and Alex, my teammate, then we lived together. That was really good. We had a blast coming over there. Our billet family was awesome, and we lived together, and they just provided us with everything that we needed. So that was great.
Yeah. How did it work with transportation? Because you know, I'm assuming you didn't have a car over there.
No, we made some good friends on the team, so they just picked us up every morning, and we went to practice. So there was no problem with that.
Okay. And then so what was the first so you go to training camp?
Yeah.
And how many people were there in training camp? Because did you notice then they were like, this is a big team?
Yeah, like I was when I first came, we were placed in 2 different locker rooms because we were so many guys. And I thought, like, my initial thought was like, what is this? How can we be like 12 defensemen on one team? Yep. I didn't really, and so yeah. But then as training camp progressed and as the weeks went by, I realized that people get cut from this team, and so that was an experience I'll never forget, when we just came home and sat down and called our agent, and we was like, we didn't really know if we made a team or not. And I've heard this podcast, a bunch of guys talked about this exact experience as well.
Yeah, So did that make you nervous? Did that make you like,
Uh, Not particularly, no, but yeah, as a we had like that's the thing also that was a bit weird. I think you're able to have 4 imports, right, when you play in the null,
yeah,
and we were, I think at the time during training camp, I think we were 6 or 7. So that was like a bit confusing because some of us weren't going to make the team and the final team, and I know like during training camp they sent one guy from, I think it was Czech or something. They sent him home, and yeah, I don't know. That felt a bit weird.
I would imagine that that was a little bit different for sure. Um,
Yeah,
and then, but then, so after that, you made the opening. So you made it through training camp.
yeah, yeah.
How many D did they keep? 8?
Yeah, I think so. We were, I don't know exactly how many defensemen we were, but we were a couple, and we were at the time also, I think, 6 imports at the team because they brought someone down from the USHL.
Yeah.
Uh,
So that's the other part that you probably didn't know, right? So here's people getting cut,
yeah,
and then here's new people coming in.
yeah, like we talked about that with the guys and on the team, because in Sweden, you set your team and your roster like in July, and the guys that are in July is probably 99%, and like in April the year after, you play with almost the exact same team plus or minus one guy during
Yep.
the whole season. Here is like 50 people coming through during the season, and the lineup changes all the time. So that was something new, that was something pretty unexpected, and something I wish I knew a bit more about when flying over.
Yeah. So the other part is uh when all this happens and talk a little bit then after you get started now,
Yeah,
and um and then the season gets started. Talk about the difference in the play. I mean,
like
J20 nationals, so you played all the big teams. You played
yeah.
in big rinks and that experience, but the game is very different.
Yeah, the game is a lot different. Especially for me, I would say I'm pretty small demon, and I'm pretty skilled and offensively gifted, I'd say. So I liked having the puck. I like making plays. I like and this when I just got over, people started just hitting you from left, right, and center, and coaches just told me to get the puck off the glass and get it out. Like the sooner you can get the puck off the tape, the better, and all that stuff. And all I just wanted to do was, yeah, you want to do this crazy dangle, you want to, play this tricky pass, but yeah, that was not really appreciated by the coaches, who just wanted to play this simple hockey. And that's one thing I realized. I think my game actually like suits Sweden better because this is the bigger rinks, more space to skate with the puck. But yeah, yeah, it's a big difference from like everything. How you warm up, how you play the game. It's a lot more physical over
Yeah.
in the US, and just people. Yeah, if they see that you're, yeah, that small Swedish kid, I just want to kill him every time he has the puck.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, it was a big difference, and it took a while to get used to.
Did that start right away, first practice in training camp?
Yeah, yeah, I say so. Yeah,
So it's interesting, for those of you that I've talked to, and I've been there myself, and watching main camp, which is even more fun because then you may have 250 people there before training camp, and everybody's trying to make a mark. And but I'm curious too, was there a lot of sizing up in the locker room? Of course, you had your buddy there, Alex,
yeah.
but what was that like first coming in? You put your gear in the locker room. There's not a lot of chit-chatting going on in the locker room, right?
I No, they were a bit chit chatting. Most of the guys who were there the year before knew each other, and they were so nice to us. They could took care of us really good, and we've made some great friends for a lifetime.
Yeah.
So we one of my two best friends there was like the captain, and I think the other one was the assistant captain. So they took us under their wings, and there was no problem with that there in the
Okay.
locker room.
Well, and it's funny because, you know, in that environment, especially so during main camp, the experience that I talk to people about is that, you know, you're not there to make friends, you're there to make the team.
Yeah,
And it's either you or it's me.
yeah,
And so the first thing is people coming in and they, you know, you got the puck and you know, you get rid of the puck and 1, 2, 3, 4 seconds later you get creamed, you know.
yeah, yeah.
And but it's funny you mentioned this kind of like the Swedish style of D of you know, not a lot of pressure in the forecheck. You turn up with the puck in front of the goalkeeper. You may make a move in front of the goalkeeper and step into play and looking for the neutral zone pass, right? You know, there's not the pass doesn't happen below the goal line too much in Sweden. A lot of it happens in between the goal line and the top of the circles.
Yeah.
And the difference for the D man in the null is if you try to do that, I mean, you're going to have F1 and F2 on you, and then it's all about, you know, creating that turnover. And not only that, there is impact every time.
Yeah, yeah. That I remember being a bit shocked, like playing my first, I think it was scrimmage game. Uh, like everyone just starting hitting each other, and you know, I'm not the biggest and most physical guy, but I needed to start hitting people as well because you know you got to defend yourself and you gotta be ready for that. And yeah, I don't know. I probably should have watched a bit more video of the null before entering, maybe.
Yeah, well, you didn't have the Swedish Junior Hockey podcast to prepare you ahead of time. We'll talk
Uh,
about your brother a little bit later, but I think that's the part that we're trying to do here. All right. So, but then you ended up, so did you end up going to Blaine?
Yeah, I was there at the showcase. It was a blast. So many teams, so many scouts, so many Swedish people I knew because it was a lot of my friends went over to the Null as well that same year. My O2 friends who did the same journey as me played there last year at J20 back here in Sweden, and then got tendered after, just sent over to training camp. And it was really fun. Everyone gathered around at the in Blaine, Minnesota, and yeah, it was just a great time.
Yeah.
Loved.
So when we're recording this, this is middle of September now. This will be released in 5 or 6 weeks.
Yeah.
But when we're recording this, this is the weekend of Blaine right now.
Yep.
And why is that such a big deal if you're a null player?
I think that's the first time for the teams, especially, really to show off like how good they are, how good of players they got. But even more for the players, that's the first time they may be able to show off how hard they work during the summer for the college recruits or college coaches, scouts, and even some NHL teams are there watching. So I think it's a great place, and you can really make a name for yourself if you play good there. You know, just so many eyes watching, and it's just not only scouts, and it's the other teams as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, make a mark and really make a name for yourself, I think there.
Yeah. And um what was your impression of the rink?
The rinks.
Yeah. There in Blaine.
Oh yeah, there were a lot of them.
Yeah.
I
Because
actually been.
they have 8 of them.
Oh, there's 8. Yeah, I've been there before. Actually, I were in Minnesota while my younger brother was there playing like a tournament with a Swedish team. So we were there on a vacation slash he played there.
Yeah.
So that was fun. I didn't really know where we were heading when we sat on a bus, and when we got to Blaine, Minnesota, and I saw all those rinks, I was like going through my camera roll and like, oh, I've been here before. And, yeah, that was great.
Yeah, I mean, I think people is when people think it's hockey's big in Gothenburg,
Yeah.
you know, you should go to Minneapolis area which is
Yeah.
kind of where Blaine is, and you'll know really quickly what hockey really is or how big hockey is there. And
Yeah.
there's 8 sheets in one complex.
Yeah.
And just games going on all over all the time. And what an experience just to be able to go and be there and so on and so forth. Talk about, so at what point did you start thinking about, okay, now I'm in the null and maybe I can go play college?
I think that the first weeks I was there, we went watched the St. Cloud State University play, and we got to talk. Me and my buddy got to talk to like some of the coaches there and some of the guys there, and that was a great experience. But yeah, I think that's when you really like started to think, yeah, I probably can play college here, and I want to play college. But at the same time, we knew that it was a big competition, and a lot of guys, or like every guy, wants to go and play college. So you really have to stand out to be able to make the team.
Yeah, I mean the competition is tough.
Yeah.
And so how would you rate, I know the game is different, but how would you describe and rate the different levels of J20 National versus North American Hockey League?
I'd say the skill level is much higher in the J20 National. Like individually, I think people are a lot more skilled. There, I think like the skill level is probably USHL is like the same thing as J20 National, I think. But but I think the null is more like you need to play gritty, you need to play as a team, and yeah, it's a two different games of hockey played. But it's I don't know really. I think the J20 National is a great league. It's a great league to develop, and but yeah, I think it's probably pretty similar. Like how they rank.
Yeah. So were you tempted to go to college after?
Yeah, yeah. At the
I mean,
start,
because
I
I know
really,
your plan was to go play professionally in the Hockeyettan,
yeah,
and then this was kind of a fun thing to do,
yeah, exactly.
and then all of a sudden you're like, you've got your prerequisites. Did you start looking at colleges to possibly go to and start sending transcripts, or?
Yeah, I sent over my transcripts to my agent, or yeah, he was called advisor at that time.
Yeah.
But and he started. I think he started talking to a bunch of different college teams, but it didn't go that far. But yeah, I know I sent my transcripts, and I was really interested going.
Yeah. And then change of plans. Injury happens.
Yeah, I was injured for a while, and yeah, didn't get to play that much. And then, of course, as I said earlier, we're 6 imports. You can only play with 4 each game. And I talked to the coaches, and he wanted to put, I think, as much as he could at the forward lineup. So I got to walk around in my suit all all of the games, just watching and practicing and watching. And yeah, then I talked to my agent, like, do we want to stay here, or do we want to move teams in and all so I can come to team and play? Or yeah, do we want to go and look somewhere else, probably at home? And I really, really enjoyed my time at my billet family and enjoyed everyone in the Norseman organization. So I was like, either I want to stay here and get to play, or I want to move back home, I think, because I didn't feel like putting all my stuff into my suitcase and get my bag and sit on a plane across America and then end up in another NL team and just start over with a new billet family. So I got a really, really, really good deal back home from Venice that I think I couldn't really refuse. So yeah, that happened and that came up, and yeah, I took that one.
But that's a big step because now you close the door for college hockey.
Yeah,
I
or
mean,
like not really. I don't think we talked a bit like because maybe we could go back home and then come back and play the playoffs. We were talking about that. But yeah, as I went home, I felt like yeah, at the start that was the initial plan, to go back home, play some pro hockey in Sweden, and then come back and do the playoffs in the NL maybe.
Yeah.
But
But I mean, but don't you jeopardize the amateur status when you take, you
I
know?
don't really know, because we talked about that as well, and I think there's some kind of judges who can see past that. I don't really know exactly how that worked, but we talked about that the opportunity still was there if I wanted to. But then I enjoyed my time back home, and really felt like sitting on a plane back to the US again. So no, I stayed in Sweden and did my the last part of the season here.
Yeah. So let's round out by talking about, here's the thing that I wanted to get the other perspective. We talked about the difference between J20 National and North American Hockey League.
Yeah.
Let me mention too, in your elite prospects, it also says that you played in North America and NA3, which is tier 3, but that was actually incorrect. You didn't actually play there, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I played one game there, one game, but it says like 4, I think.
Yeah.
That I don't know why it says that, because they just added when I came back. But yeah, I played one.
Yeah, let's mention that, because I think that every NAL team also has a tier 3. A lot of them have an NA3 club underneath that is a lower league, but it's a good opportunity if you're not getting to play. But was that in the same city, or did you?
Yeah, it was like 45 minutes from there. But yeah,
Yes.
I went there for like 2 or 3 days, and while I was there, I felt like I should have taken a spot on the roster at the Norseman. So I felt like I wasn't supposed to be there, and then they called me back, and I started training with the Norseman again. But then this opportunity came to play back home, so I took it.
Yeah. And they probably left you on the roster for some games, and that's why, even though you didn't play, that's probably why it shows up as 4 games.
Yeah, probably something.
With that team. But all right, so you now move home. What was it like? So you end up in Umeå.
Yeah, that was pretty far.
Which is pretty far. We spoke a little bit about Philip Wiberg, who was just on the podcast. One of 3 Philip Wiberg that are O2s, by the way. But you were in Umeå, and you're playing for. So you're playing for who was the team?
Vännäs.
Vännäs. So, which is kind of a sister club to Björklöven, right?
Exactly.
But what was it like? Let's talk hockey first.
Yep.
Hockeyettan versus NAL. Is Hockeyettan more similar to J20 National? I mean, so Hockeyettan, for those who don't know, 3rd division, you have SHL, Allsvenskan, Hockeyettan, or Division 1.
Yeah.
Professional league, a mixture of really young players that just came out, first, second year of pro, and then some veterans.
Yep.
Mainly the young players aren't working a public job, maybe working a part-time job, but mainly they're there because I couldn't get an Allsvenskan or SHL contract. I'm here to get better, work hard, and maybe move up. But then there's also veterans that may work a public job on the side.
Yeah.
But it's considered professional.
Yeah.
And well-run organizations in smaller towns or smaller organizations, typically. How do you compare Hockeyettan versus J20 versus North American Hockey League?
I'd say Hockeyettan is much more structured. It's as it's older guys. Yeah, I say Hockeyettan is it's a higher level. It's harder to play in Hockeyettan and stand out compared to J20 National and then all. It's so many good teams, so many good players, and Hockeyettan has really got better over time. The last couple of years, like some teams are really good and have really great programs, and so yeah, I say Hockeyettan is a really good league.
Yeah, and crowds.
Yeah.
In that town, I'm sure that there was. What was it like there from a standpoint of the crowds that are there and cheering on the team?
Yeah, the interest is really big, especially if you're playing in a smaller town. You know, this those bigger clubs, you know, Boden up there have a really good crowd, and everyone just when the team's good, like the fans are always there. You know, I know Kalmar down south and Karlskrona and Nybro, who played last year, had like up to 2,000 people every game
Yeah.
watching. So, there's really big crowds, and people are really interested because the level is high, and it's a really good league. So it interests and involves a lot of people.
Yeah. And then so and not as physical, not as fast as North American Hockey League, but more structured, more seasoned
Yeah.
play. Um, and did you feel prepared? So did your months in North America, how did that prepare you now? Are you glad that you went?
Yeah, I'm super grateful for especially like it's an experience of a lifetime I'll never forget. It was one of the best times of my life coming there for like 5 months. But yeah, as a hockey player, it prepared me really well. You know, playing on the smaller rinks, being able to take and give hits, and you know, just the game is played so much faster when the rink is smaller. And coming home, you know, to have all of the space, you can stand behind the net, wait for people to come change. I have done that in 5 months, and it was so nice, you know, being able to skate with the puck and being able to, you know, have some time on the puck and just feel it. It was awesome. So yeah, I'm super happy I went, because it not only developed me as a person, but as a hockey player as well.
Yeah. All right. And then the opportunity. So now you finished then the year there, got 20 games, which is awesome. And then you're working with your agent and you're looking at, so now you've kind of got your foot in the door in Hockeyettan. So then you're looking at options.
Yeah, we were talking to a bunch of different teams and trying to figure out what we wanted to do. And yeah, it was talks about going, you know, playing in Austria in the Alps Hockey League, and Norway as well. And I got this opportunity coming to south of Oslo, capital of Norway, to play, and I felt like it was a good deal for me. And yeah, I just went there for a week, saw how the facilities were, where you live, and everyone around the team, and got a good feeling about it. So I jumped on.
Yeah. And then second league in Norway, which is that comparable to the third league in Sweden?
Yeah, I say so. I know the highest league in Norway is really good. Like
Yeah.
the top competes with SHL, and I think that can, like the standard of that league, the highest Norwegian league, can like compare to Hockeyallsvenskan, and the Norway second league can compare to like Hockeyettan.
And so I'm pulling up the roster here now for the team there. Some other Swedes, quite a few Swedes, but looks
Yeah,
very young.
yeah. We have a young team. I think we have probably the youngest team in the league. Hungry guys, a great group of guys, and as you mentioned, a lot of Swedes, which is really nice. We can, and the coach is Swedish too as well.
Who's the coach
Uh,
there?
Ulf Berglund. So yeah, he and my agent had some good talks, and yeah, brought us there, and it's been really nice having a bunch of Swedes too. We live together and we work. They fixed the part-time job so that we can work as well together. So it's really nice.
Yeah. Well, I think that I appreciate you coming on and talking about your journey, because hopefully it'll help people and be an encouragement of people to, I've said it before, I'm a huge fan of taking that opportunity for new
Yeah,
experiences, and you grow as a person, and you grow as a hockey player, and those kind of go hand in hand, and people shouldn't be afraid of taking of learning new experiences, and not be stuck in a bubble. Two more things. One is if you met yourself at 17,
mm.
uh now you're a little bit more experienced, but or maybe since your brother's 16, right?
Yeah, he turned 17 a couple of days ago.
All right,
So
so
yeah,
it's
he's
perfect. what advice do you give yourself at 17, or now your brother who's in Karlskoga playing for Johan Schultz? What advice would you give, since you now have experienced these things, but things you didn't know when you were 17 that you wish you would have known back then?
First of all, we actually talked about this in the car ride home, to take school seriously. I think he slacks a bit sometimes, just doing bare minimum. But yeah, school is very important, especially if you want to go over to the US and maybe play college, because I think he's a tremendous hockey player. He's so talented, it's so awesome. So I think he can go how far he wants to. But yeah, first of all, do school correctly, and then just keep your mind open, keep your opportunities open, because you never know, if you get something, maybe you should take it, because yeah, it can develop you as a person and as a hockey player very much.
Yeah, when he's in a good spot there in Karlskoga, I mean, great program, grit hockey. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a great place to prepare yourself mentally and physically for North America. I mean, what a great place to be in Karlskoga.
Yeah, exactly. He got a bunch of offers, but my best friend, I think you know him, Åke Stakkestad, played for Karlskoga, and he's from Kungälv as well. So he's like an extra big brother to my little brother, and he just told him come to Karlskoga, and he never looked back since. So I think he's having a great time there, and yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, last thing, we've got a partnership with Target Aid. The question is, klubben i mitt hjärta, the club in my heart. We, part of season 2 here is to kind of help from a social, do good to the society, and there's a lot of youth hockey organizations or clubs and out there that are do so much good things, and we want to help promote those. Target Aid does a lot of fundraising. It's a fundraising platform for organizations. So we have a platform, we have a presence there, and then what we do is each guest gets to pick a team, and then we will highlight that team under Swedish Junior Hockey podcast and share that out there. So if I was going to ask, which team is your klubben i mitt hjärta?
That sounds great. I have to say Kungälv Hockey. I've played there for I think 12 years, and some of my absolute best friends in the world, who I talk to every day and who I see as often as I can, are from there. So I have to say Kungälv. Got so many great experiences from that, playing with different guys there, and yeah, just my just growing up, and that's my whole hockey experience started, and yeah, would never choose anything over that.
Absolutely, I love it. And Tommy Salo is now a former guest on the podcast, is the J20 coach over there, and I know he has a platform on Target Aid and initiatives there to get young kids involved in the game, kind of learn to play hockey. And he's doing a lot of good there in Gothenburg. Big hockey profile there. All right, thanks. We spent a lot of time talking. Enjoyed the conversation. It's going to be fun to kind of keep up with both you and your brother. You got to fix your brother's profile on Elite Prospects because they're not linked. It doesn't say.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure why that is and how to fix that, but it's nice to be able to cross.
Yeah, I have
reference
about that.
Yeah. And thanks for jumping on. Enjoyable conversation, and hopefully it was educational as well for those who can learn from your experience for sure.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been awesome.
All right, thanks.